Alright guys, today we're going to work on putting 2 more pages into our interactive notebooks. First page we're going to look at is page 10, and on the top of page 10 we are going to label that graphs and plots. So top of page 10 is graphs and plots. Page 11, we're going to label data landmarks. After you have both of those pages labeled, we're going to get some pages out of our green notebook. Now keep in mind, if you need to stop at any point because you're not catching up or you're not staying on pace with me, that's perfectly fine. So again, page 10 is graphs and plots. Page 11 is data landmarks. In your green folder, you might have to go back a page or two behind some of the other pages. You're going to pull out a pink page that looks like this. You're also going to pull out a white half sheet. It says measures of central tendency. You should have a purple sheet that looks like that. And finally, there's also a white sheet. We are going to get started with the pink sheet. You're going to go ahead and cut around the outside here and cut in those little pieces as well and on the diagonal so that we can fold. Now that I have my paper cut, so I have the little slits cut out here as well, okay, I'm going to hold it so that I have the graph side facing up, and I'm going to fold in the 2 sides on the left. And then I'm also going to fold in the 2 sides on the right. When I'm finished with that, I have 4 flaps. I'm going to flip it over to the back. I'm going to put glue on this side, and I'm going to glue it down into my notebook. I want to glue it toward the top if possible because we are going to, in class, put some notes down on the bottom to talk about what a good graph looks like and what a good graph should have. So I'd like to put those notes down at the bottom. So what I'd like you to do is if you can glue this up here toward the top, remember those holes should be on the left-hand side, okay, if they're already in your notebook, but feel free to take those pages out if you need to. So that should be my page 10, just like that, and that's all I'm doing with it for now, okay? We're then going to move on to page 11. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out around so that this kind of looks like a plus sign when I'm done. I'm going to cut out my purple page. Okay. So as you can see, remember if you need to pause, you can. I now have my plus sign cut out. I'm going to flip it over so that I can't see the words, and I'm going to fold all 4 sides in. Okay, it doesn't really matter which ones I fold in first or second or so forth. I just need to fold all 4 of them in. They're obviously going to overlap, which isn't the end of the world. All right, when that's finished, I'm going to put some glue on the back. And then I'm going to glue this on page 11 up toward the top because I have some other things that I'm going to be fitting in here. So we're going to go ahead and glue it right up here toward the top. Now, after I'm done gluing this down, I need to go to my white paper that looks like this. You're going to notice I crossed off what's the dot plot here. We're actually not going to make that because we have a different example. I'm going to cut out all 4 of the boxes here on the left side, and I'm also going to cut out the box here on the right side. All right, now that we have all of our pieces cut out, we're going to take the piece that has the plus sign on it. It says example of ways to use. We're going to put some glue on the back, and we're going to go ahead and glue it down on our white piece of paper off to the side because we're going to put some notes over here. Okay. Then we're going to take all these little pieces that we cut out and we need to fill them in here. Yours might look a little bit different than mine. You might have your range up here, or you might possibly have the mean up here. It doesn't really matter. We just want to make sure that we get them glued at the right spot. So if your range is down here on the bottom, it's possible you might be gluing it down here instead of up here. So we're going to find the paper for the range. The range is the difference between the largest and the smallest numbers in a set. So when we make our dot plot, or if we get our set of numbers, we take the biggest number and the smallest number, and we are going to subtract them. So I'm going to glue that in there. Now it's important to note that the largest number we call the maximum, and the smallest number we call the minimum. And it would be important to come down here and let's write that down. So the maximum is the largest number in the data set. So when I do something to the max, it's the largest. And then the minimum, see the word mini in it? So when you think mini, it's small. The minimum is the smallest, or the first number in the data set, as long as you have them in order, obviously. Okay, so we'll make sure we have that written down. Remember, again, you can pause at any point if I'm writing too fast for you. Over here, we're looking at the median. The median, see how it has a D in the middle of it? The median is the middle number. So I'm going to explain to you in class how we figure that out and how we cross off numbers to find the number in the middle. Okay, it does get a little tricky because sometimes we have two middle numbers, and we'll talk about how we find those. Okay, so the median is the middle number. So the range is like when I go golfing at the driving range and I hit the ball the farthest, from the greatest distance to the smallest. The median is the same thing as the middle. Let's talk about the mean. This definition is a little tricky. The quotient of a set of numbers when the sum of the numbers in the set is divided by the number of addends. The mean is called the average. So quotient means to divide. Addends, or sum, is when we add. The number of addends, those are all the numbers we add together. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to add all the numbers up, get a total by hitting enter in our calculator, and then we are going to divide by however many numbers there were in the data set. So if I had 5 numbers I added together, I would divide by 5. If I had 52 numbers in my data set, I would divide by 52. So I'm going to take and I'm going to glue this here on the tab that says mean. The mean is the average. Okay, so it is when I add all the numbers up, I get a total, and then I divide, which means that this is my last definition. The number that occurs most often is my mode. So see how mode and most both start with the MO? So it's the one that's there. It's not the largest number, but it's the number that's there more than all the other numbers. So I might have a couple of them in my data set. So again, we will practice all of these in class together. All right, we're going to fold that up and we're going to flip it over to the back. So I'm flipping page 11 to the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around the outside of this piece of paper, and then I'm going to cut here and here and here, and I'll show you in a minute what that looks like. Right, and on the back of page 11, I cut out this piece of paper, this half sheet, and I also cut in between each of them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold on the solid line. Okay, after I fold on the solid line, I'm going to put some glue just on this little piece right here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to glue it down on the back of page 11, and in class, we're going to actually go over some examples, and we are going to practice finding the mean, the median, the mode, the minimum, the maximum, and the range for these sets of numbers.